Go. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Ride Along. We have Mr. Kevin McDonald here to speak with us. He is a longtime auctioneer, among various other things, as we'll get into. But he actually went to auctioneer school when he was 16, still in high school. He worked in the cattle business for about 20 years doing it. He worked on some other odd jobs outside of that for a little bit. And eventually he circled back to now he is a full-time auctioneer. And it's something that I think, recently in the last 10 years, there's been all these awesome shows about auctioneers and pawn stars and things like that kind of have to circle around to it. So I can say I'm personally very interested to learn more about this. So thank you for being here.
You bet. Glad to be here.
So, the first question is, what made you at 16 think I wanted to, go into auctioneering, and what, prompted you to go to auctioneering school while you were still in high school?
So I grew up in a small town, Bradley, Arkansas, which is close to Texarkana, where I live now. And it was very agricultural. My dad was a school teacher, and we had cows and pecan orchards, put up a lot of hay, farmed a lot. We actually had a local auctioneer that had farm equipment sales, and I grew up going to those with my dad. My dad actually worked for him, clerking, and I'll go into more of that, what clerking is, catching bids for him. So, and I at a young age got to go to work for him. So, and a couple times a year we'd go to the livestock auction, to sell cattle or buy cows, and was just exposed to it. And I just thought at an early age, man, that's what I need to be doing. Mm-hmm. So just struck out and then went to auctioneer school, and here I am.
How do you know which auctioneer school to go to? Is there ones like in specific regions, or like how did you choose that whole process?
When I went, there were in a rural co-op magazine, like your electrical co-op, mm-hmm. a progressive farmer. They would have ads in the back for auctioneer school, and there were maybe half a dozen. There were several. Mm-hmm. So I actually sent letters to all of them. Had mm-hmm. One of my friends in school, a girl with good handwriting, wrote my letter. I actually felt like I was going through the college process of trying to get accepted, which it wasn't that big of a deal. They'll take you. If you're willing and able, you're accepted. So anyway, the the auctioneer school that I chose was Missouri Auction School in Kansas City, Missouri. Mm-hmm. I guess it was probably the closest one, and it was from what I'd heard, the most reputable one. So sent off. Actually, when I was 15, I told my dad, hey, this is what I want to do. And the class, it was about $1,200, I think. It actually was your class, which was 2 weeks, and your room. They had a hotel room at the Americana Hotel in Kansas City, Missouri. So, in today's terms, that's not a lot of money. At the time, when I was 15, that was a pretty decision. So told my dad that's what I wanted to do. And he said, well, let's wait on it. Let's wait, maybe next year. So the next year rolled around, and at the beginning of summer, I said, Dad, these are the dates that I'm going to be out of town going to auctioneer school. And he said, are you sure? I said, yes, sir. I've already got the money saved, and that's where I'm going. So a friend of mine who was a little older, he was 18, I was 16 at the time. We struck out and went to Kansas City for 2 weeks to learn to be auctioneers.
Yeah. And so once you showed up at the school, like what time did you start doing classes? What was that like, the whole school process?
So then it's a little different now than it was then, from what I understand. They send you get a book ahead of time with these drills, counting drills, counting by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, all the way to 100, and then backwards. And then you practice counting by 2.5, 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, all the way to 100 and backwards. Just so you get familiar with the numbers. You do a lot of tongue twisters, nursery rhyme type tongue twisters. And when you get to class, some of the class you were just doing drills, practicing drills. And then probably half of the class time you were learning about merchandise. It might be antiques. You might talk about the cattle industry. You might talk about real estate auctions. And then some of the class was split into how to manage a sale, how to do your commissions, how to figure commissions and things like that. There's a lot of working parts in an auction. A lot of job opportunities other than auctioneering. There's a lot of opportunity.
Were you guys the youngest people taking the class at the time, or?
In that class, I was in that particular class. Now there have been a lot more, younger than me, and I'm sure at that time younger. There's some auctioneers now that are 9 or 10 years old that maybe their dad's an auctioneer and they're getting exposure and already going to auctioneer school. So they got their path already lined up.
Were there ever any moments where it was difficult in auctioneer school to do these tongue twisters and like have to put yourself out there? Like, did you have to like go back and practice a lot individually, or did it kind of come naturally?
No, you start auctioneering is like learning to talk or learning to ride a bicycle,
right?
Or learning it's not a gift. You're not just born. Now some people take to it a little easier than others, but you start slow. You learn a chant. You're auctioneering your talk. Everybody's chant's a little bit different, but you start slow. When you leave auctioneer school, you sound like, I'm at a $5 bid now 10. I'm at a $5 bid now 10 now 10 now. Would you give me $15 bid now 20? And that's how they want you to sound, slow and get a good rhythm, and then you build on that. And the more you use these filler words like, I'm at $100 bid. Would you give me 10? Or would you give me 20? Would you give me 30? And the faster you go, you learn this chant, and you're saying those words, but they're just filler words.
Right. So once you finish the program, how do you get involved with the auctions?
That's the tough part. There's so many different auctions, livestock auctions,
right?
Fundraisers. I've done tons of fundraisers for Ducks Unlimited, National Wild Turkey Federation. I've done a few high school prom auctions. I've been in
I might have been involved in one of those, yeah.
But real estate, there's a lot of different avenues, and different types of auctions. And I know guys that do a lot of them. They're involved in car auctions, auto auctions are a big thing. The internet changed a lot of that. A lot of the, you got eBay. People have different ways of selling things on Craigslist. Where an auction, a typical county farm auction, those were, you had one at almost any weekend.
Right.
Now people have different ways to sell their product. But the way to get in, you just like the cattle business. Like I said, I worked for an order buying company. So I'll give you a little insight into the cattle business. These livestock auctions have brokers there that are buying the cattle that ship out to other ranches. You have stockers and feeders. Well, these order buying companies are they're livestock brokers, just like a stockbroker, but they're dealing in livestock. So I worked for a livestock broker for almost 20 years who buys cattle at sale barns within 150, 200 miles of Texarkana. And you bring those cattle in and ship them out to the customers. So when you go into a cattle auction, you've got 6, 8, or 10 different companies in there buying. That's probably the best way. If you're not born into a family, have friends that own a sale barn, you kind of got to get in to learn the business, to learn cattle and learn the ins and outs of the livestock auction.
Right. Would you say that there's kind of like a different style you have to do for different products? Because you say when you're doing the fundraiser versus cattle and stuff like that, is there like a different chant or something that you use for that?
My chant's pretty much the same, but when we're selling cattle in the livestock auction, we first start with the cows, like the stock cows that farmers are there to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's typically like a normal auction. I'm asking for
Right.
$5, $50,
Uh-huh.
$70, $100. But when we start on the stocker calves, the
Mm-hmm.
calf sale, it's a lot faster. We sell
Right.
where my biggest sale is in Nacogdoches, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
J&J in Texarkana is one of my big sales.
Mm-hmm.
But we do 200 to 250 head per hour. So we're
Wow.
selling a new calf
Uh-huh.
about every 10 to 15 seconds. We've got another one coming in, sell it,
Right.
another one comes in, sells.
My
So it's pretty
Lord.
rapid.
Uh-huh. So do you ever get just tired while you're doing it? And like, I mean, I assume you're just having to,
Yeah,
is it an all day kind of thing when you're going to a big sale like that? Does it start early in the morning and go for a while or?
typically our sales start at 12 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It's very seasonal, which we
Mm-hmm.
sell all year long.
Mm-hmm.
But from July to Thanksgiving or November is the busy
Mm-hmm.
time. That's when most of the farmers are selling their calves.
Right.
Uh, we had several sales like this fall where we were
Mm-hmm.
selling at from midnight to 2 o'clock in the morning. So, you
Wow.
know, 10 or 12 hours of
Mm-hmm.
auction, which some of the bigger sales, I'll have some help. I'll have a guy come relieve me and we'll swap
Uh-huh.
out. So on a typical day, I may sell 5, 6 hours straight,
Mm-hmm.
and there's going to be times when we have to stop for a breakdown or
Right.
something. So it's not as, we're not selling constant, just one.
Right.
We do get an occasional break to,
Uh-huh.
I will say you've really got to be able to focus,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to block out, what else is going on in the world and
Mm-hmm.
focus on what you're selling and who's buying because it's those guys are there professionally. They're
Right.
professional buyers, and
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with that farmer. That's his commodity. We're
Mm-hmm.
selling his product, so we want to get the most we can. So it's and when I do your auction for your prom or I do a fundraiser,
Mm-hmm.
that's more laid back, having fun,
Right.
entertaining the crowd,
Uh-huh.
getting people involved. Where these cattle auctions is strictly business.
Mm-hmm.
We go in and go to work and try to get done and get home.
Yeah. If you're willing and if you're okay with this, would you give us a little demonstration of, someone just brings a new cattle up there and, kind of show us how it would go?
Sure. So if we're selling you know a cow,
Uh-huh.
a good cow, good registered uh, Charolais bull or
Right.
something, we're really talking up. We're going to
Uh-huh.
say, this is a 5-year-old. He's semen checked. He's guaranteed to go. Let's go to work. Iron hand.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna do $2,000 bill, 2,100 bin, 22, 23, 2300 bin, 4 bin, 40 here, 25 bin, 5 now 25. Sell them down here $2,400. So that's about how we would sell a bull.
Right. And is it usually pretty much that fast at one of those big sales? Like that's how quick you can go for a bull or?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's pretty rapid. Now,
Yeah.
the registered sales or
Mm-hmm.
where they're selling, registered cattle, they take a little more time and
Mm-hmm.
slow down, but we go pretty rapid.
What would you say is the most interesting item or sale you've ever been a part of? The one that you kind of like always maybe think back to?
I've
Which
I've
if
had
you've had, obviously you've had a ton, so.
yeah, I've done some fundraisers that
Uh-huh.
have been a lot of fun. And I've
Uh-huh.
helped raise a lot of money, and
Right.
through the generosity of good people that like to
Mm-hmm.
give and like to have a good time. I did a fundraiser for a school down in Louisiana for years,
Mm-hmm.
probably 15 years we did that. And we raised a lot of money for them, but we would sell anything from a live buffalo to a family car from a funeral home,
Right.
painted purple and gold.
Uh-huh.
So we never knew what they were going to bring. We had a lot
Uh-huh.
of fun doing it. Actually sold a uh, prostate exam that was donated by a urologist to a local fire department.
Huh.
So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Was that a pretty big high seller or I can't
Well,
imagine that.
it was it did pretty good.
Uh-huh.
I don't exactly remember what it brought, but we talked it up and had a lot of fun with it. So
Right. So now, since you've been doing it for so long, and when new auctioneers, people that want to go into auctioneering, do they contact guys like you who've been around for a long time to kind of learn the ropes? You talked about the clerk process. What is?
So in a typical auction,
Mhm.
I'm auctioneering, and I'll have somebody beside me that we call it a ticket writer or a
Mhm.
clerk, and they're recording the item we're selling, whether we're selling farm equipment or cattle. They write down the description, the number of the item, and then who I sell it to and what it brought.
Mhm.
Selling cattle, then they've got a person behind them they have to slide the ticket to weigh the calf.
Mhm.
When you sell it, he records it, and then it goes on to scales, weigh it, then the ticket goes back to somebody else that enters all that information in the computer.
Gotcha.
If we're doing a farm equipment sale, you'll have a ticket writer that
Mhm.
clerking, keeping track of everything. Some of them do it by computer now. One of my auctions, they've got a computer. They'd never do a handwritten ticket.
Mhm.
She's entering all the info as soon as I sell it, sold, how much, buyer, and it's in the computer that quick.
Mhm.
So, like I say, there's a lot of new technology in the auction system.
Mhm.
In the, years ago, they did it all by handwritten, had ledger books and kept it
Right.
penciled out on adding machines. So
Uh-huh.
really evolved a lot.
So how is your payment work since because you do this full time? So how do they structure it? Is it based on the sales, a commission from the sales, or?
All auctions are different. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm a salaried auctioneer, so I
Uh-huh.
have a base salary at
Gotcha.
every sale that I work. And
Uh-huh.
if we have more, so my salary is based on a certain number of cattle.
Mhm.
We go over a certain amount, I get paid extra. So our bigger sale,
Gotcha.
it pays you, to work longer, but
Mhm.
smaller sales, you're not there as long. So
Mhm.
it all averages out.
So I always, see those things on TV of like the big Las Vegas car auctions and stuff like that. W- For those auctioneers, how is it the same kind of process of you kind of have to know somebody and do your time to be able to get involved in big ones like that the same way, or?
The auction business is really, it's a lot of who
Mm-hmm.
and getting in with the right people and people that'll guide you and you kind of take you under their wing. Uh,
Right.
I was 48 years old before I had my full-time cattle auctions.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And I did a lot of work, did a lot of other things before that
Mm-hmm.
opportunity came along. But, the thing about auctioneering is you've really got to know your product. I don't care if you're selling for a fundraiser or
Mm-hmm.
selling cars or cattle. You've got to be familiar with what you're selling. So, you've got knowledge of what it's worth, just like that Charolais bull I sold a while ago.
Right.
Within reason what that bull should bring. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we're not going to start it for 500 when it's worth 2,500.
Right.
We're start at 2,000, and so you don't have to sell from 500 all the way to 2,500.
Uh-huh.
Kind of, and just like when we're selling calves, you've got to have a knowledge of this calf. Everything is by the pound.
Mm-hmm.
Selling $1.21, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's $1.25 per pound.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to know that calf within a range what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
Same with selling cars. When these guys sell these auto auctions, they're selling these cars daily, so they know when that 2014 GMC truck comes in,
Right.
they know within reason what that truck should bring. So
Uh-huh.
product knowledge is a must. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
really need to know, study, stay on top of it. I'm not the greatest. I don't have the most knowledge in the cattle business, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm always reading. I'm always
Mm-hmm.
online, keeping up with the futures. Is the market up or down?
Right.
Selling every day. At a cow sale, I sell
Mm-hmm.
5 days a week. I know when I see a 500-pound steer on Thursday bring $1.45, well, he's worth that the next day.
Right.
The market doesn't vary a whole lot.
Uh-huh.
From
So is there any like I know you talk about research and stuff like that. Is that stuff that basically you kind of have to do to be able to keep up with it? Is there other stuff that you're forced to do for your certification basically to keep up with it, or is it mainly like independently doing your own research?
Okay, I lost you for just a second, Jay.
Oh, so my question is, after you've been certified, is there anything else you kind of have to do with the certification as time passes? Do you have to recertify, or do you more just keep doing your own independent research?
So when I went to auctioneer school, you did not have to be licensed.
Uh-huh.
There's no state license, no state regulation board.
Hmm.
Now to auction, to be a licensed auctioneer, which would be
Oh,
selling cars, getting paid to do auctions, you have to be licensed. I do not license because I'm a livestock auctioneer. So
uh-huh.
the sale barns that I work for, we fall under a USDA regulation of packers and stockyards.
Uh-huh.
And their rule is as long as the sale barn has a bond, I don't have to be licensed or bonded. I work under their bond. So
Gotcha.
I don't keep a license anymore.
Hmm.
I just didn't use it. So I just let it go. And,
Right.
but the auction schools now, we were talking earlier
Hmm.
about what you learned at auction school. Now about half of that time you're in school, you're learning how to pass the auctioneer's exam, learning the regulations,
Gotcha.
rules, and what it,
Uh-huh.
so they're prepping you to take that test and pass
Hmm.
it.
So as the amount of time you're in auctioneer school changed as well, then
I'm sorry.
has the length of auctioneer school changed as well?
I know most of them are a 2 week process.
Hmm.
Not all of them, but most of them are.
Hmm. Has COVID really changed what you guys do? Has it made, certain things?
When the COVID came out and we
Hmm.
started getting restrictions on how many people could be at a place, the livestock markets were under the essential business,
Right.
because we're selling a live
Hmm.
commodity, so we really couldn't stop. What
Hmm.
they did was we asked the farmers, if you're not coming to buy, if then we ask you not to come. We're trying to
Hmm.
keep our crowds down, and they
Right.
they cooperate for the most part. So
Uh-huh.
it really didn't change the way we do business. It did
Hmm.
change the way we interact and
Hmm.
how many people were coming to our sales.
Yeah. What would you say is the most important personal skill for someone to have if they want to be a successful auctioneer?
You know, I tell young people that are interested in being an auctioneer, if
Hmm.
you're going to do it, you need to sell every opportunity you can.
Right.
You're a bake sale at church, any fundraiser that'll let you
Hmm.
sell, go do it. If you have to go to the horse sale on Saturday night and wait till the end to get to auctioneer, go do it.
Hmm.
Spend that time while you're there. Listen to that other auctioneer. I'm always listening. I'm
Hmm.
always trying to pick up and learn from somebody else.
Right.
But the auctioneering, the chant, like you asked me earlier, is pretty much the same.
Hmm.
Whether I'm auctioneering a cake sale or for the high school prom or
Hmm.
cattle at J&J Livestock, my chant is the same, but knowledge and knowing what I'm selling is different. So
Hmm.
you really need to know the not focus on what you're going to sell.
Hmm.
Practice. It's all practice. So because there's times when you're selling, you may be waiting on a guy to bid. You've got
Hmm.
to read those customers, and I'm an agent for the seller. The guy
Right.
selling that product is paying the commission. So it's
Hmm.
my job to sell it as much as I can, get the highest price I can. So I don't want to sell out early. So you've got to hold on to that. If I'm asking for 100, 125, 125, quarter, and I'm waiting on a guy to bid, you've got to be able to carry that chant, and
Uh-huh.
not stop. So that's just practice. And that
Yeah.
just, the more you sell, the better you get.
Uh-huh. That makes a lot of sense. What would you say when it comes to auctioneering is the thing people probably don't understand the most about it, or maybe take for granted when they see an auctioneer?
Well, most people that just come in think it's just uh, a man. This guy's
He's just a fast talker or something. Yeah.
we're really. I mean, I guess I am kind of talking fast.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, I've used my chant so
Right.
long. I'm not really talking fast.
Uh-huh.
For instance, I'll just give you an example. I'm at $100 bid now quarter, $100 bid now quarter. But if I'm selling, I'm at 100 a bid now, quarter down here, quarter down here. I'm not saying now a quarter. I'm saying quarter down, quarter down, quarter down, a little bit, a little bit, quarter down, quarter
Uh-huh.
down. You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's not that I'm really talking much faster.
Uh-huh.
That's just the way my chant has developed, and it sounds like I'm really talking fast.
Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
But so you can say you've seen your chant develop across your career, and
Absolutely.
definitely. So I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know it's the break and whatnot. What would you say, if you could go back to your 16, 18-year-old self and give them, a line of advice, or to other people who want to go into auctioneering, what would be that Kevin McDonald line of advice to give?
It's been fun. I've
Hmm.
had a lot of fun, and I've met people all over the country. Made a lot of friends. My advice is get in there and do it. Don't
Hmm.
ever give up, because, like I just told you, I got my first full time livestock auction job when I was 48 years old.
Hmm.
I'd
Wow.
sold a lot before that. I'd sold
Uh-huh.
cattle. I'd sold a lot of things, but when I got that call, I was 48.
Hmm.
That's what I wanted to do, and I got that opportunity, and I've not looked back. So don't ever take no for an answer. Just
Yeah.
keep your head down and your feet moving, and you'll get somewhere.
I think that's a great line of advice. I think you might have stole the last part from a movie or something that was so eloquent.
My coach told me that in seventh grade football, and
Oh, there you go.
my head's down and my feet are still moving.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. To all the viewers out there, I know this was definitely really interesting for me. I'm sure you guys got a lot out of it. Stay tuned for the next thing. We've got more and more great episodes that are going to keep coming. Thank you again.
Thanks, Jay.